I have a unique gift that goes underutilized most days. I actually have 3 underutilized, weird abilities. The first one, I can always tell which direction is north. Don't ask me to explain how. I just know. It's odd to me that other people don't know which direction is north. This wall behind me is the north wall of my home, by the way. This is a new apartment. We'll get to that. My other underutilized gift is dream interpretation. I'm very good at interpreting dreams for other people, but Google exists nowadays, and so people can just Google symbols from their dreams and kind of figure out what their dream was talking about. So that gift doesn't come up all that often. And then finally, the reason I'm making this video, I am a speed reader. I'm in the top 10th percentile according to a few tests that I have done throughout my life. I can read very quickly and comprehend what I'm reading. And last year I read 5 books. So in 2025, this year, my goal is to beat that number. The truth is, I could read a book a day. I could read an entire novel in one day. With my ability, it would be doable. But I'm not going to set the goal at 365 books. I'm going to pace myself. So I would like to land somewhere between 5 and 365 as my goal for the year. And I'm making a video about this as a means to motivate myself, but also to kind of give myself purpose in doing this goal. I feel like if I read a book and then I talk about my thoughts on the book, I kind of have something I'm working towards other than just completion. Completion is usually not enough for me. It's the thing that happens after you complete a project. That's the thing I'm after. Well, and of course, we're talking about reading here, so the actual reading process itself has to be enjoyable, and I do usually enjoy it. So I'm starting this today. The book that I'm starting with is actually one that I began in December, towards the end of December, called Melusine by Katherine Addison. She is one of my favorite fantasy authors. She wrote The Goblin Emperor, if you're familiar, Witness for the Dead, which I think is a top 5 fantasy book of all time for me. Obsessed with that book. Melusine, so far, I'm about 18% in, is very good, but my motivation has been lacking. So I'm going to jump back in to Melusine today. I would like to finish it today, which, with my ability to read, should be doable. I will check in as I read, tell you my thoughts, opinions, all of that. I can say 18% in, I am greatly enjoying it. The villain is villainous. The 2 protagonists are incredibly lovable. Addison has a real gift for making unusual but lovable protagonists. She has a gift for that. I will go ahead and say, if you decide that you're interested in this book, there are quite a few trigger warnings. I'll include them down below in the caption. Okay, I'm going to read for an hour, and then I'm going to go get lunch. And like I mentioned, I am in a new home. This is a townhome that I'm renting in a new part of town in Austin. I really, really love it so far. I'm in a very walkable neighborhood, so my plan, I will read for an hour, I will walk and grab lunch, bring it home, eat, and continue to read. As promised, I read for an hour. I'm feeling very Austin today. I woke up and took a little walk in my neighborhood and grabbed a coffee while I was out, and something about it just felt very like old school Austin. I don't think the old days are completely lost here. There's lots of things to love. Anyways, I'm at like 33% into the book, so a little while left to go still. I'm gonna sit down, do some more reading. All right, let's change. Let's cozy up. I actually think I'm going to go downstairs for the afternoon to read. This is my office, the room that I'm currently in. This is where I do all the writing and also play video games, My gaming PC is in here, as well as my PlayStation, so this is where I have fun, and I count writing as fun. Downstairs is where I host people, the writing group, on occasion, and I think it's a good spot to do some afternoon reading, too, so let's change. Let's head down there, and let's see. I'm wondering how quickly I can hit 70%. Hello. It is the next day. I did not finish Melusine last night. Few things, a few notes. This book is much longer than I thought it was. I'm reading it on Kindle. It was the only format available, and I didn't check the page count before starting it. And if I'd known that this book was nearly 700 pages, I probably would have picked up a different one to try to kick off my reading journey. It's not that I'm not enjoying it. In fact, I am currently 58% through, and it is very, very good. However, because it is so long, it is going to take me multiple days to finish, and I was not planning on making a multiple day video. My second point ties in with the first. Like I said, I'm reading on Kindle. I've come to the realization I don't like reading on Kindle. I like reading physical books. I don't think that's necessarily a hot take. It is a privileged take. Anyways, because I've had the revelation that I really do prefer reading actual physical books that I have in hand. I do think that will also alter some of my reading plans going forward. I have to kind of temper my plans a little bit because it is so expensive to read physical books. I have a membership to the Austin Library, and I can borrow physical books from the library, but I'd mostly been using it to rent books, borrow books via Libby, which is an app, if you're not familiar, where you can borrow books from your local library or your friends' libraries virtually, and it'll just send the book to your Kindle or your phone or wherever you want to read. That's kind of what I'd been planning on doing with this reading process, this journey that I'm on to read more. But now that I've had the realization that I just don't like reading virtually nearly as much as I like reading physically, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Which brings me to my final point. My writing group is meeting right now. They're actually at our local little cafe. It's like a 5-minute drive from me. And I'm debating whether or not I should meet them there. There's two halves to this. I have writing that I could get done, for sure. But also, I'm really enjoying Melusine. And I'd like to keep reading it. And it is a goal of mine to finish it. However, realistically, I don't think I'm going to finish it today either. I was so naive yesterday, saying, "Oh, I'll read it all today. I'll get it done today." Not a 700-page book. I'm not. It's also not exactly a bingeable book because, again, as I mentioned, there are some trigger warnings. There's some stuff that I, as a reader, have to sit with for a little bit after I read it. Like, damn, it's very well done, very well written. Like I said, I'm 59% of the way through, and I'm loving it. On the other hand, I am in the process of writing my own book. It's called Snow Spring. I believe the last video that I uploaded, which was last summer, is about my works in progress, including Snow Spring. So if you're curious, you can check out that video. I will link it. Hi, Pancake. You want to come say hi? This is my cat. You say hi, Pancake. Hi. Yeah. So I could stay home, I could nap, make myself lunch, and read. Or, I'm already dressed, my hair is wet. I don't know how obvious it is on camera, but my hair is wet because I just showered and got dressed, got ready. So I could leave right now. Go to the cafe. What do you think, Pancake? Should I go get writing done? I will say, Melusine has inspired me to do some more work on Snowspring. It's given me ideas for some, character beats that I was kind of iffy on. Melusine Addison has such a strong character voice that it's really helped me kind of decide to write really strong character voices for Snowspring. So maybe I should strike while the iron is hot, strike while the inspiration is flowing. All right, I'll check in with you. Hopefully soon I'll have more writing done and I'll have more reading done. Hope you enjoy spending a few days with me. I did not plan for that, but hey, why not? Hello. It is days later, and I'm happy to report that I have in fact finished Melusine. It does not escape me that it's a little funny that I started recording this video by saying I have the superpower of reading very quickly, and then waiting until, is it the 11th? The 11th before finishing a book. That's 11 days into the year that it took me to finish one book that I technically started in December 30th specifically. So I want to do a few things here as I talk about the book and the process of reading the book. I'm going to start with my general thoughts on reading right now in the state of mind that I currently have that I think a lot of people share presently. I downloaded TikTok in 2020 along with half of America, and I sank pretty far into the world of short form content, and it's become a big part of my day-to-day. If I have downtime, what am I doing? Pulling up TikTok or Instagram Reels, or scrolling through Threads, Twitter, Blue Sky. All of these places where you get little nuggets of info. Hold on, Waffles is doing something. Let me check what this cat is up to. I'm a little bummed that I turned off the camera for that, because he was trapped in that closet right there. I keep my tripod that the camera is currently sitting on. I keep it in that closet, and so I had to go into the closet to grab the tripod. And I guess he darted in when I did not see him. Are you okay, bud? He was only in there for 10 minutes max. The easy accessibility to fast, entertaining content has some upsides, yeah, because I have curated all of my feeds to serve me content that is rewarding. It's not all doom and gloom like a lot of people talk about. It's not content that makes me feel bad when I'm done consuming it. In fact, quite the opposite. When I finish scrolling on Instagram, when I finish swiping through TikTok, I typically feel like I've learned something, because so much of the content I'm being given is informative, helpful, interesting content. And that's a little insidious, right? Because I start to feel productive doing these things that aren't actually productive. I feel like I've made some progress on my book today because I read some posts on Twitter about story structure that I will be able to implement in the future. Yes, that is helpful. But no, that's not productive. That's not actual productivity. So, what does this have to do with me reading Melusine? My brain is so cooked from consuming short form content for years now. It took me 2 weeks to read this one book. That's a respectable pace, to be clear. I'm not shunning anybody who reads at that pace. That's not what I mean. The way I read books before 2020, this shouldn't have taken me 2 weeks. But because I'm constantly distracted, I'm constantly under this pressure inside my own brain to do something productive, doing something that is as still as reading is legitimately a challenge. And I do enjoy doing it. One of the big things I'm walking away from this book feeling is accomplished, actually, because I finally finished a book after months of not doing so. It feels great. I have a book hangover in a really great way, in a way that I'm grateful to have. So now that I've kind of kickstarted reading again, my hope is that I will continue to read and pick up the pace, hopefully. I mean, I'm not putting myself under any pressure. If I have to start reading books at a 2-week canter, then I will. I'll do that. And I have no shame or frustration around that. Things change. I used to, consume a book in a day. Maybe I can only consume a book in 2 weeks now because, again, my brain has been fully baked, roasted, spit roasted over a fire that is TikTok. Let me talk about the book, my feelings on the book. I liked it a lot. I think I am Katherine Addison's target audience to a T. Like, bing! I am in that little middle circle in a dartboard. That is me for her. And she hits it every time for me. I don't think that will apply to almost any other person. There aren't a lot of readers like me, and I don't mean that in like I'm so special sort of way. Because I'm not. Truly, I'm not. I just happen to be interested in the type of content that she is putting out there. Now, I will say, this book is from 2005, I believe, and it was released to relatively good reception. People seemed to like it. And the fact that it was published to a relatively warm reception is shocking to me. While I give this book 5 stars, while I truly, genuinely enjoyed it, loved all of the characters, loved all of the villains, I loved the pacing, the side plots, the way it turned from one type of fantasy into another, all hit for me super well. But that being said, I feel like it being even a moderate success when it was first published is a miracle. Because it's a weird book. I'm going to touch on some light spoilers now. Just a few. The tropes within this book, I don't think would get published today. I don't think this book would get published today. I don't think some publisher would pick it up anymore. Because, as a debut, to be clear, as a debut. Because this was Katherine Addison's debut. This was her traditionally published debut. What? There are things in this book I can't fathom. First of all, it's very gay. One of the main characters, of which there are 2, is homosexual. The other one is bisexual. So, that's not that big a deal for today. But in 2005, that had to be at least a little notable. At least a little. Maybe not a ton, but a little. But beyond that, it's There's rape, there's incest, there's child abuse, child abandonment, child murder, all of which happen on page. We get to witness that. There's so much ableism, but in a way, like, all of these things I'm not saying were written poorly. Obviously not. It's a 5-star read from me. I think she handled all of it masterfully. And I would even say that it aged relatively well. She uses some charged language, especially around, she uses ableist language. But that being said, she uses it in a way that is, I think, well done. And considering that this book is 20 years old this year? 2005? Yeah, 20 years old this year. She writes unusual fantasy, and so do I. And whenever I read one of her books, I feel very like, I could do this too. She did it. I can do it. So for that, I'm really grateful. I'm glad I read this. I recommend it only if you are into weird fantasy, queer fantasy. If you are okay with not being spoon-fed world building. That's one thing that Addison does masterfully in all of her books. There are such rich, fully realized worlds around these characters, and they never explain a thing. I don't really know how the government works in Melusine. I don't understand how the passage of time works in Melusine, because it's spoken about in made-up terms that she invented, and she never defines them. I'm okay with that. I know a lot of readers would probably be annoyed by it. I don't need to know the exact. I'm guessing a decade is probably 10 days, probably. I don't know. But I also don't care. Melusine was incredibly helpful for me as a writer. It was inspirational. It even helped, seeing some of the ways that Addison tackled plot problems in this story helped me figure out how to tackle some plot problems in my story. Super grateful for that. It's one of the reasons I read. It's one of my favorite results from reading is walking away thinking, oh, I know how I can write X, Y, or Z. The next book I'm going to read, I believe, will be this one. It's The Dinner by Herman Koch. And then after this, I believe, is Yellowface. And then I'm going to dive back into some fantasy. Perhaps I'll record my process as I do all of this. But for now that I've refilled my well a little bit, it's time to write. Thank you for joining me here. Hope you have a great one. Goodbye.